Well, we're going to go ahead and start, and I hope your morning is going great and it will continue to go great. And today we're going to start, I'm going to base it off on the book of Joshua, and the verse is Joshua 1, chapter 1, verse 9. And let me give you a minute for you guys to get there. I wrote it down. Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. And it says, "This is my command, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And this has been such a reminder for me, because sometimes, I don't know about you, but there's times when you do feel in situations where you think like, God, where are you? You know, I don't feel you, I don't hear you, or things that don't go a certain way that we wanted them to go to, and we start questioning, right? But the beauty in all of this, it's what I'm learning now, it's all a process, and it all depends what you do in that process, because it could either make you or break you, bring you closer to God or bring you further from God. And I think that's what also tests our faith, because, you know, the devil knows how to work his ways in us. Like, he came here to destroy, kill, and when he uses, I'm sorry if I'm thinking too much, is because sometimes I say stuff in my mind in Spanish and I'm trying to translate it fast in English. So, the devil came to robar, matar, y destruir, to rob, kill, and destroy. So sometimes he comes over and just starts to take your focus from God, because he knows that we have something within us that is special for God, and he sees us as a threat. So sometimes whenever I think like, my goodness, now this is happening, now that is happening, and it's like, God, when is this going to end, you know? But it's because the devil uses tactics to take our focus off of God. And when I was reading this verse, when it says stay strong and courageous, and it's funny how it says, I put strong and then afraid on the bottom, but whenever you're afraid, you become strong. And last time when I was thinking of, there's a whole situations going in our lives, and I remembered the life of Peter, and when it talks about the story of him and walking on waters. And that story for me is something that has always been present, because whenever I think, oh my gosh, I'm losing my focus in God because I'm worrying of the situations in life, or in work or family wise. And that story of Peter, when he walks on water, it doesn't say it in the Bible, but I can picture Peter getting off from the boat, looking into the water, and when they were thinking that there was a ghost that was in front of them, and I can picture just Peter being like, okay, this person is telling me to get off the boat, because he still didn't believe that it was God, right? So he's getting off the boat, he's looking around, and he sees the waves, he sees the ocean. And I can see Peter walking off from the boat, looking around, giving that first step, the second step, the third step, looking around, and all of a sudden, he focuses on Jesus for a minute. He's seeing, okay, he's there, I'm getting closer to him. But then, when he starts getting closer, that's when the waves, they start coming up. And making a parenthesis, for me, is like when you're getting closer to God, boom, there's problems coming up. There's work situations, money problems, kids problems, whatever it is. Every time when you get trying to get closer to God is when the problems come. But I can imagine Peter getting closer to Jesus. The waves just coming, side to side from him. And God is just there with his hands wide open and just saying, just come to me. I'm here. I'm here. And when Peter is just trying to get closer and closer and he starts seeing, and all of the problems try to just overcome him, he just reaches out. Sometimes I think that God uses situations to bring us closer to him, because we can be distracted and we cannot, how could I put this? We may prioritize something else that is not on God. So what I'm trying to say is that God lets situations happen in our lives so that we can refocus and come closer to him again. Because I'm not going to lie, it's not easy. It's not easy, yes, every day being in communion with God and everything, but we have our own situations and we have the things that happen. But the greatest thing of all is that we know that God is always there with us. God has never, ever forsaken us. There may be times where we may feel alone, and that's perfectly fine, because that's when God comes in and says, who says you were alone? I'm here with you. I am here fighting with you. Sometimes you may feel that I'm not there, but I'm closer than ever. And this is what I've been learning the past 8 months. This is what I've been learning of God. Sometimes I just feel like you're not there, but he's there. And he tells us, stay strong and stay courageous, no matter what you're going through. It's going to be okay. And we feel God during the day. When you go to work or you look around, and sometimes I think like, wow, God, you are so amazing. You're in the littlest details. You are there. And he reminds us, hey, whatever you need, I'm here. And one of the things that also gets me from this verse where it says, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. It says wherever you go. It doesn't say only when you're in church, only when you're in your praising time. No, God is there wherever it is that you are. And sometimes in our minds play a lot. And they can say, you can be going through some problems and be like, your mind would be like, so where is your God now? Where is your praise now? But that is when God says, I am there. In that moment, the darkest moment, God is there. And he shows us every day that he is with us. If it wasn't for God, if it wasn't for his love, for his mercy, oh, I don't even know where I myself would be. But God is just so good. And last time when I was praying, I was telling God, I just want you to, I don't know what you're doing in my life. It feels like when I was, having everything aligned, which I thought everything was aligned in my life, it feels like my life was already like this, it's fine. And once it's like this aligned, it feels like now it's coming apart. And I say, what are you trying to show me? What are you trying to tell me? Because it gets frustrating, believe me. It gets frustrating because you ask God, what do I do? And God, I just remember feeling like his arms around me and just saying, you're fine. Everything's fine. There's a process. There's a process that you have to go through. That you have to be molded. And there's certain times or situations that become like the center of our heart, which might take away the spot of Jesus. Like, this is the way I see it. This is your heart. This is your whole heart. And then there's something that comes over it and takes that whole part or that spot of Jesus. And Jesus is saying, no, this spot is my spot. You need to remove that and leave that area to me, which is your heart. And we don't understand why we go through things or why the situations go the way that they do. But God says, that is my place. You do not need this. You think that you need this. You think that you need that. but you really don't. You need me, and you need to focus on me, and you need to trust in me and my ways, because God, he works in mysterious ways, and I think we all know that. But God says, this is my spot. No one can take that from me. And sometimes when we are afraid to give that first step, because I don't know about you, but I've always heard of, how can you get closer to God when worse, bad things start happening even more? Well, because if you don't have trials and tribulations, how are you going to know God? How are you going to know that he's there? How does your faith going to grow? And it's funny because even my friends from work, they know that I'm Christian, because I tell them, hey, I'm going to take my moment to watch my service, and, and they always tell me, like, it's funny how you always talk about God and this and that about your church, and yet you're not even there on Sundays. And I'm like, that's right. I know that I'm not there, but I will be. And this is why I need to continue, to search God and look for him even more. And sometimes that gets in my head where I'm like, why am I being attacked this way of trying to distract me when I'm just trying to focus on Jesus, knowing that he has everything in control? And it's funny because last time with my old supervisor, she came up to me and she said, hey, can I ask you something? I said, sure. And she said, there's something different about you. I don't know what it is, she said, but there's something different about you. And I said, oh gosh, well, I said, well, I hope it's good. She said, yeah, there's just something that surrounds you. She said, there's something like around you that just makes me feel like I feel happy, and I just feel distressed. And I just looked at her and I said, it's God. And I just turned around and I left. And I just thanked God. I said, you know what, God, thank you for that moment, because even in that little thing, I was able to tell my supervisor something about you, and I was able to, I didn't need to speak. I didn't need to say anything, but it was you showing through me, that you are with me. And when that word discouraged, that's when that word discouraged just came up. Whenever you feel alone, whenever you feel doubting yourself, just remember this: God is there. No one said that the walk with Jesus was going to be easy. It won't. Because when we don't have trials or tribulations, you're not going to grow in God. Because imagine if everything in our lives went okay, we wouldn't even seek God. Why? Because everything was going our way. Everything was going fine. But whenever we need God, of course, we run to him. And sometimes it sucks when everything is fine and we're like, yeah, thank you, Jesus. Everything's cool. But then when something goes wrong, oh my gosh, Lord, help me with this. And we just run to the Father because we know that he's there. And God is always going to be there. God will never be like, no, you didn't need me back then. Now you need me. No, God says, child, I am here. Whatever it is that you need, I am here. And he's there with his open arms. So if you feel like you've been feeling alone or separated from God, God is there. He's only waiting for you to come to him. You don't need to do this big prayer, use the big words. No, God is simple. Just talk to him the way that you would talk to anybody. He's there for you. And sometimes we're told that, oh, God is just looking down and seeing, and if you're doing wrong, God will punish you. God will do this. And God is graceful. And if you come to him with a heart that is sorry for what it did, God is going to be there with his grace. And he will be there to secure you, to hug you, to give you whatever it is that you need. So this morning, I just want to leave you with that. And it's the verse again is Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. And I'm going to read it again. It says, "This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." I know this might have been short, but I just want to leave you guys with that. And I just want to thank you, Lisa Jane. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I can hear my son waking up. That's why I'm cutting this a little bit short. But I just want to thank you so much, and let's get a prayer to end this. Thank you for everyone that came in and listened. Thank you very, very much.